Reports from beyond the stars. Mira Augustus, Giorgio Schmidt remarks with a grin at his ex-wife and her husband. Giorgio Claudia, Mira greets him cordially. All right, enough awkward stuff, let's motor, Richard remarks, all but pushing them into the room. His half-brother is more than a little gregarious and had been requested, mostly because he had been the one to really pick up the slack in the midst of Giorgio's and Mira's divorce. The awkwardness is gone, mostly. But the important thing is Gregory. The emails and phone calls from camp had been hurried but mostly portrayed in all right enough time. Something about a nickname as well. All right, just a heads up. He's part of a team, and part of his message was recorded with the entire team, including 3 aliens that they've taken on as part of their team. So this is going to be technically classified for the next few months as the brass figure out exactly what's forbidden and what's not. Make sense? Can we still have the contact number for getting a copy of this once things are settled with who's allowed to know what? Mira asks, and the receptionist nods. Of course. Also, I've read the details around Pukey and his team. You must be very proud. Pukey? Giorgio asks as Richard snorts in amusement. What's so funny? It's the nickname he earned in training camp. Apparently he kept it, Richard says. He did, as did every member of his team. Almost everyone who's been out of cruel space envies him. Hell, I kinda envy him. He's been through a lot, but came out of it like an absolute champion, the receptionist says. What do you mean by a lot? Mira demands. You'll see pretty quick. The receptionist assures them and all but pushes them into the room before snickering and closing the door. Because that wasn't at all ominous, Richard says with a raised eyebrow and an impudent smirk. All 5 of them quickly get comfortable and the projector activates to show Gregory looking to his left with his right side turned to the camera. His hands are in his pockets and there's a stern look on his face. Captain Gregory Pukey Schmidt of the Chainbreaker at your service, he says with a smile as he turns to the camera to reveal a long scar over his left eye that's now not only clearly prosthetic but glowing pale blue. He then pulls his hands out of his pocket and slips off his jacket to reveal that he's in a sleeveless shirt to expose his cybernetic left arm that's half hologram, half digital projector. Lost this to a praying mantis woman while escaping slavers. I got her life in return, he says, tapping his cyborg eye, and it thunks audibly as he does so. This I lost to a 6-armed snake woman called a Desert Nagasha with a plasma sword. This one to be specific. Gregory continues as he pulls a metal cylinder off his belt and ignites it into a blade of pure light. He then spins it and catches the blade with the hard light hand. Richard just starts cackling at this point. Needless to say, I got myself some upgrades. Like this! Gregory then crouches down and comes back up with his left arm merging with what looks like a cannon. He turns it to the side, and a pulse of sheer light erupts from it, which really brings out the pure, distilled crazy in his smile. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm the captain of the Chainbreaker and commanding officer of a team of crack bounty hunters. Our basic goals are to not only find interesting things out in the galaxy to look at, but also to spread as good a reputation for humanity as possible. I'm fairly sure that shouldn't be classified as a PR mission isn't exactly high security. Gregory then scratches his nose before chuckling. But don't you worry about me in this big galaxy? Here it comes, the receptionist says, poking his head in with a shit-eating grin. The camera flickers, and Richard bursts out laughing and applauding at the sight of Gregory and 10 other men, one of them an alien teenager with a snake tail instead of legs. For we are men, they declare as one in galactic trade with a bouncing ball-style sing-along begins. They flex to the left, showing off that the teenage snake boy with the vaguely visible 4-pack is easily the least defined and frailest of the lot, with most of them easily having been chiseled from marble if they hadn't outright stepped off the cover of a Harlequin romance. They flex to the right. Men! Men! They switch sides back and forth 3 more times, shouting men each time. Fearless breakers of chains. We will crush all those who gain their life through crime, Gregory sings out as the camera focuses on his face with emphasis on his eyes. Richard outright falls out of his chair as he struggles to suppress his laughter. Men! 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 The switching flex is back as the chorus as everyone stares, some in awe, others in shock, and the receptionist is quietly dying as he leans against the wall. No matter what cruelties you inflict, The snake boy begins flexing his cybernetic fingers and letting his hair fall to the side to reveal horrific scars just behind the veil and a cybernetic eye. Everyone has moved into a pose with their arms crossed to really emphasize their huge muscles, and while he looks positively puny next to the humans around him, the effect makes him almost as adorable as they are macho. "You won't get away with it," one of the two absolutely massive black men states. This one has a bowler hat on and a dazzling smile. "For we are men! Men! Men, men, men!" The flex-off happens again, and the camera pans over all of them with their massively bulging arms, including Gregory's holographic one. "There is no foe who cannot be bested," the Latino-looking one begins. Once again, they're standing tall with their arms crossed. "Nor any strength that cannot be tested," the Arabic one finishes for him. "So let us face them as—" the snake boy starts to lead. "Men! Men! Men, men, men!" The flex is real and happening again as Augustus, Claudia, Giorgio, and Mira try and fail to fully process what they're seeing. Richard has regained control of himself and is watching with an approving eye. "Whether they run or hide," one of the men, this one with fine-boned features. "Their capture is as sure as the tides," one with slightly rounder features calls out. "For we are," an Asian-looking man leads in. "Men! Men! Men! Men, men!" They begin their flexing, but now a pair of pink and red-colored hands are literally grabbing at Gregory's belt, and then the video cuts off just as a black and yellow blur shows up aiming right for the Latino man. It's once again Gregory, but this time he's sitting in a chair and grinning impertinently as a tiny reptilian woman with enormous breasts and an even larger rear glares at him. So, our little recording session for possible advertisement was crashed and has been deemed too steamy for mass distribution. A pity. Pity nothing. "You crazy apes will drown entire worlds in their own lust with that kind of madness," the tiny reptilian woman protests. "Don't think I can't see you're squirming. Just thinking about the video is making you eager, isn't it?" he asks with a huge grin. "Well," she begins, and he picks her up. "Excuse us," Gregory says, and the video jumps to show a rumpled-looking Gregory with a huge grin on his face. That was Cindy, my sweet little surgeon of love that hooked me up with high-end prosthetics she'd been fiddling with in her spare time when I was down an eye and arm. If not for her, I would have been recaptured and probably still in chains to this day. She's not a fighter, but she doesn't have to be. She's a streetwise cyber surgeon and a beacon of good sense and civility. "And today's good sense is that you don't show anyone that crazy video," Cindy scolds him, and he just grins. "It's just a basic beefcake show. There's nastier, beefier, and better all over the place on Earth," Gregory protests in galactic trade. "I don't want to hear about your planet of porn. You weren't complaining when you climbed me like a damn tree near the end of the song." "Yes, because expecting me to be calm when there are 10 sweaty, bulging walls of muscle and man in front of me is reasonable." Cindy protests, climbing up to look Gregory straight in the eyes as he grins. "Not counting Scaly? He was there too." He teases her and she looks affronted. "Don't be gross," she smacks his shoulder. "He's our adoptive son. I will never be so desperate as to try my own child, blood or not." "Right. On to more wholesome bits. I'm recording a message for my family. Say hi, Cindy." "Hi, Cindy," she says, turning to the camera with a cute wave before turning right back to Gregory. "Now really, Gregory, that joke was absolutely foul, and I have half a mind to hunt down the nearest bar of soap and wash that filth clean out of your mouth." "All right then," Gregory says with his eyebrows up. "But please, introduce yourself to my family." "Are you really going to use all this?" Cindy demands in shock. "A formal introduction will just seem utterly false and not give a solid look into what's going on. A sterile slice of the galaxy doesn't show them anything but lies. Letting them know that we're in a loving relationship, even though I can occasionally drive you nuts, is far, far better than some formal introduction where you're effectively reading off a teleprompter. Not to mention, it's also more amusing to make a video this way. I want them to watch and rewatch this and have a smile knowing that I'm not only doing well, but I'm having a blast doing it." Gregory answers, and she shakes her head before hopping down into his lap and cuddling close. "You're lucky you're so cute, you crazy man," Cindy says to him before glancing at the camera and suddenly becoming shy and somewhat hiding in his jacket. "Where did this come from?" Gregory asks her gently. What if they don't like me? You've saved my life, offered me nothing but love and good sense, and have stayed by my side through madness and strangeness. If they don't like you, then they can screw off. Gregory answers, and she pokes out of his jacket to nuzzle against him. And I meant it too. She was there when I needed help the most. She gave me the strength to keep moving and fighting while behind enemy lines, and offered me the tools and resources to steal an impossible victory from the jaws of an inevitable defeat. Gregory explains. I've been advised to not show the video of our meeting, mostly because it's not only very violent, but can give the wrong impression on much of the galaxy at large. What happened to me is fairly rare. Thankfully. If it wasn't, then no one would be safe anywhere, Cindy says softly. You think we should introduce them to our son? He's already got a kid with her? How fast do these aliens move? Mira demands in shock and disgust. That's a wonderful idea, Gregory says, standing up, and the video skips obviously with the snake boy, now covered up properly in a large sweater that he's swimming in, sitting next to Gregory as Cindy sits on his lap and openly comforts the serpent child. Meet Slithern, my adoptive son. He's a Great Plains Nagasha. We call him Scaly because we physically cannot pronounce his name properly. I just butchered it, Gregory says. Although, to be fair, he's sort of everyone's son, if I'm being honest. Please stop, Slithern mutters into his sweater, and Gregory chuckles. There's nothing to be ashamed of, you're fine. You brought out that video? I don't know how you convinced me it was a good idea, but I'm never doing anything like that again. Slithern mutters, and Gregory shakes his head. In a few years, if not a few months, you're going to look back on that and laugh so hard it will hurt. You say that about everything you have me do, including all the exercise. It's important to exercise. Even if you never hit the field, your mind lives in your body. Take care of your body, and you take care of your mind. He's right, Cindy adds, and Slithern just mutters to himself as he shrinks into his shirt. So yeah. I've got a well-paying, interesting job, a loving wife, and a sulky teen kid. I'm pretty sure I've skipped a few steps, but I think I've knocked it out of the park, Gregory says with a chuckle. You're such a weirdo, Cindy says, and Gregory chuckles. Maybe. But you love it. Yeah, she admits, and Gregory offers a salute to the camera with his organic hand, and the movie is over. Well, that was a thing, Richard says with an enormous grin on his face. Hey! Mira stammers out. He distracted us from the fact that he's been badly injured with a literal song and dance, and then a complete change of the subject. Giorgio notes before heaving a sigh. I was not fooled, however. He has been grievously hurt. The loss of an arm at the shoulder or one's eye being slashed out are immense. He's not the only one hurt. Did you notice the snake kid? All his fingers are fake, but the thumbs were left alone. He's also got a shit ton of scars under the hair and a robo-eye of his own, Richard says. It would be wise to remember that despite everything we have been told about the galaxy, they have not hidden the dangers. They've simply not brought attention to them, Augustus remarks. It's not like it's any worse than what's on Earth, Claudia says before thinking. We still, unfortunately, have slavers and monsters and lunatics of our own. Why would it be different beyond our little piece of the galaxy? Very fair, my dear, very fair, Giorgio remarks as he stands, then offers his hand to help her up. Hopefully we can get a copy of this soon so I can baffle my co-workers. Reports from beyond the stars. You're the Jamesons. Come on in. I'm afraid not all news is... Well, I've seen a lot of these messages home, and this one is one of the weird ones. The receptionist says, and the small family looks from one to the other in confusion. That's implying that you've seen this video message before us. Why? Emma Jameson asks, and the receptionist sighs. There are at least 4 layers of protection and information filtration on these. The situation is very delicate, so we're trying to make sure that no one does something stupid and kick off World War III. Every message has at least 4 layers of examination, first from the person making it going over it. Then the intelligence division on the Dauntless did. Then the crew of the Lance gave everything a once-over, followed by people like me. The ones that are flagged as sensitive get another 3 levels from the government, the military, and then all a cryptologist. We're being careful. Your boy's got a full 10 layers in that the head of intelligence, the Admiral Cistern, and Admiral Lee, the man in charge of the next mission, looked over it as well. Your son is moving in powerful circles. Meaning our boy's moving in powerful circles, she says, and there's a nod. Oh yes, if he ever comes back to Earth, well, if he ever wants to. Most of the reports I've been going over show men being almost criminally happy. I've been looking for signs of drugging, but aside from most of them looking really relaxed and happy, there's no constant symptom. No twitching, no dilated pupils, no nothing. I guess they're all just getting laid on the regular, and that'll put any man in a good mood. Really? Emma says in a flat tone as Charlie, her husband, chuckles into his hand. She elbows him and he waves it off in amusement. Emma, he's a full-grown man. He's going to have a sex life, and it's none of our business. I just don't want him to be like... Emma trails off, and Charlie hugs her gently. I know that man hurt you, but we know that there's a lot more good in Herbert than what happened. He's a good kid, and has been a hell of an older brother. So he's caught up in the dangerous stuff? I'm sure he can handle it. It's Herbert, Charlie says, and Emma nods. Although, to be fair, it's probably best that it's just you and me. After all, being introduced to alien wife after alien wife of Herbert might be a bit much for the girls. Hallmark moment aside, can we get moving? I've got a few more people today and you guys are at the front of the queue. The receptionist says and gets a slight glare from Emma, but it has all the effectiveness of a spitball against tank armor. They're bundled into a room with a projector in the ceiling, and both Charlie and Emma sit next to each other as the lights dim and... Has he already got a son? Charlie asks as he sees a very familiar young teenager in a formal button-up shirt and vest regarding the camera as he fiddles with his topmost button. He's wearing gloves and looks like he's training to be a butler in some rich man's estate, or maybe getting ready to work for the Queen of England. Do I have to dress like this? He asks someone to his left. It's a neutral outfit that gives away little, while allowing you plenty of room to hide tools and weapons. It is something you need to get used to. There's a large and long beep to cover up whatever was said, but younger Herbert nods in response. Right. Very good. First things first. The elephant in the room. Due to an incident that... He looks to his left. I am not allowed to speak of. I was made the... He looks to the left again and sighs. The beneficiary of the alien medical technology. Unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, or some way or the other, I'm now 14 years old again. 13 and a half by my reckoning. The loud beep comes up again, signifying that someone's clearly talking to Herbert. I stand corrected, Herbert says with a sigh. All right, I'm currently not allowed to say what I'm doing or... Nope, not allowed to say where either. My day-to-day activities are classified. And as you can probably tell, this is going to be a hell of conversation as I'm not sure if confirming my identity is operationally secure. It is! There's a loud beep and Herbert nods. I know it actually isn't, but I'm going to count that as a win. So I'm not allowed to tell you what I'm doing, how I'm doing, or where I'm doing it. May I please have a list of safe subjects? Herbert asks to the side, and instantly an arm snaps out. It's from a man in a suit and gloves and is holding a single card out for Herbert to take. He examines it and offers an unimpressed look at the source of the arm. Really? Yes, is the answer of the beep, and Herbert turns the card over to reveal the word nothing on it. You know what? Screw it, Herbert says, ripping up the card. If it's so damned important, I'll censor it in the editing process. I need to talk. He tosses the shredded card over his shoulder and looks right at the camera. Right after I was assigned to poke at the more unusual alien laws, falling afoul of them. Woke up in the middle of a gangbang alien horrors, promptly panicked. I then escaped. As best I could, but that led me to a 1,000-story drop where I bounced and needed to go to the hospital. Not my best moment. His every censored word also covers his mouth with a black box in it as well, so his lips can't be read. After I awoke, I found myself to be legally married to 100 different alien women that walked out of a horror-themed strip joint from the looks of them, and all of them just a couple of years older than my new physical age. Needless to say, I was flabbergasted as I suspected the previous events to be as a dream. You wax loquacious and flowery when frustrated. It is a habit I will have to help you break. The person off to the side says again in all their censored glory. Right, will that be before or after? You teach me the finer points of stabbing someone in the spine? Herbert asks. While they can't make out what he says, it's very clear from his body language that there's a lot of sarcasm in it. During, the person answers, and clearly it was not what Herbert was expecting. Okay, Herbert says, looking off. Well, They look like monsters, act like schoolgirls, and there are goddamn facehuggers running around minus the wang. It's as messed up as it sounds. I don't even know what I'm doing half the time, but I figure if I keep working at it, I'll get some answers. Who knows? Maybe I'll have some fun while I'm at it. This isn't about fun, it's about effective. A man in your field needs to get results, otherwise your operations will be annulled and an enormous amount of resources and man-hours will go to waste. Perhaps even lives will be wasted. Yes, sir, Herbert says solemnly. Well, this next part is going to be nothing but censored, so I'll be adding a little bit of it for no reason beyond my own amusement. I'll leave it up to you on whether or not what I said was something sensitive or something completely unimportant. At least he's taking this in good humor, Charlie remarks as Herbert grins and glances at the person who's no doubt monitoring him, who audibly sighs. So after my failed attempt to sneak into an arrangement system to snub the laws involved and use that as an excuse for political pressure, and my ensuing kidnapping, violation, and near-death incident that I still cannot fully recall and have no desire to, I ran afoul of the more unpleasant laws of the galaxy that make it so that men attempting to initiate divorce with people who live in an arrangement system is nigh on impossible. So I was stuck with 100 idiots who can't tell the difference between a borderline comatose man and a willing one. Mr. Jameson! The other voice cuts him off. Have I misspoken? Only in that this will be heavily censored and redacted. It was going to be anyways, I'm living in the embassy of Ambassador Hlela of the Versi system as a sort of recompense, as it was exclusively with citizens from her system that I've been forcibly married to. All told, the girls are very timid, thoroughly chastised, and very eager to make amends with no knowledge on how to do so. I'm being told this is kindergarten levels for learning how to manipulate people, but I still feel like a sleaze for it in spite of the justified rage I can't completely smother. It is good that you recognize the anger and the justness of it. Even better that you rebel against your initial instincts. There are few faster ways to be uncovered as a member of intelligence than wearing your heart on your sleeve. Or rather, no faster way than actually wearing your heart on your sleeve. Feigning something is often a much better idea. So what should I pretend to be afraid of these stupid little crab things? Herbert asks, as he visibly shifts and something thumps before skittering away. Actually, that might not be a bad idea. At least it'll be more easily justified than trying to sick the girls on each other or some other messed-up mind game. There you are, baby steps. You need to learn to crawl before you walk before you can run, and running is important in this line of work, if for no other reason than to get you away from the soon-to-explode mangled hulk of a vehicle that you were just forced off-road in. I have so many questions. Do well, and I might grace you with some answers. Ha! Okay then. This is a random bit of censorship for my own amusement. I just realized I was so busy with a confessional I forgot to have some fun. Perhaps you should focus more on obfuscation than entertainment. I suppose censor this here. There, that'll keep everyone guessing for a bit and make them think we let something slip through. Very good, but perhaps a few lies to mix in with the protection? A false lead? Or 3? Or a misdirection? That sounds grand. Well, suffice to say, and is this next bit allowed? Herbert asks to his handler and clearly gets some kind of result. I've been learning how to drive the local vehicles and navigate the insanely heavily populated planet that is Centris, which is important on a planet that, despite having a staggering variety of both peoples and people, they still all turn their heads when a man walks among them, let alone a man so young as to be easily taken advantage of, which I look like. Needless to say, I need an escort out in public. Joy. Which is why we'll be starting your training in the other areas soon enough. Really? Because I was looking forward to the stealth training. Young man, I don't think you're taking this all too seriously, an old and proper voice says from off-screen. I've just been reminded of the sheer absurdity of my situation. If the wall were to peel open like a banana, I wouldn't question it at this point. Well, that certainly makes what's about to happen next much easier, the proper old man says, and Herbert gives him a confused look. What's happening next? Herbert asks as the video fades away. Training, the proper-sounding voice says in the alien language with a single white subtitle, to illuminate it and make sure no one misses it. That was deliberate. Why did they put that in? Charlie asks in surprise. Mind games. He's part of military intelligence. This is Herbert practicing his own abilities as much as telling us anything, Emma says slowly. Their other person there must be his teacher or something. So he's gotten caught up in something that's put him in an intelligence division while also making him a child again. At least he's not living a boring life, Charlie remarks in a slightly stunned tone. Oh no. Now my mind's going to the Philip files. The what? Declassified documents that detail the missions of a British super spy. It's right out of James Bond. The man legitimately did some of the things that the more absurd movies had. I think it's nonsense, but my mind's just going there. Well, what do we tell everyone else? He's caught up in serious spy bits? He'd have told us everything, but then would have had to kill us? Charlie asks, and Emma elbows him in the side. What? Charlie! Emma scolds him as she fights down some giggles. I hope he's all right. He's part of a team, a crack team. He may have been made young again, but he's still got his training. I guess